It continues, everyone. Welcome back to our one-of-a-kind show here, broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany, via the internet. Artist Journal, January 17th, 2023. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. I welcome you back to this mission. I am on a mission of what nature I know not. And so I appreciate you joining me here, because who knows where this ends up. Perhaps just a oddity on YouTube, or perhaps something more. So I appreciate you coming along for the adventure. So let's get into it. Time is of the essence. Deadlines, people. Joanne, with a new work, her Genesis piece on Super Rare. So congratulations to her. It's doing well. It's already at an ETH with Clown Vamp, and I found it interesting. I mean, it's slightly different. I brought up an older work. So this one's called You Return Like Autumn and I Fall Every Time. Now, if you look at her older work here, and again, she calls herself Joanne Miro. It's like Juan Miro, but with AI in it. Perhaps a clue, dear viewer. And anyways, this really beautiful work here. It's interesting how she changed the palette. I think it's a she. How she changed the palette from black here and this kind of like pink to more of a blue and a softer pink. So anyways, interesting change. There's also seems to be a slight change in the volume. This seems to me, despite the perspective here, it has a bit of a flatter feel to it, particularly because of the figures, I think. Only the legs kind of have volume, whereas here, it seems like there's a little bit more space in the picture, doesn't it? So interesting work, great, congratulations. It seems to be doing really well so far. I was thinking to myself, just on the market perspective, I wonder if it would have been easier for her to have set up an auction, because like having been there, and anybody that just takes offers on Super Rare, it's a real agonizing thing, because when you're on Super Rare and you get an offer, it can be taken away at any point, and I don't think Clown Vamp would do that. But if you leave it up for a week waiting for other offers, sometimes this person, the person on the top, will cancel it after a few hours, and then it's not like it defaults to the second offer. Then you're just done, and you have to wait for another offer, which may or may not come. So I love this idea of auctions on Super Rare, because it kind of takes that whole how much do you sell for stress out of the picture. It's just whatever the market decides, because, you know, I think I sold a work for, was it 0.8 or an ETH, and I was just so happy, you know, this is like over a year ago on Super Rare, and I was just so happy, I just jumped on it, but maybe I should have waited, you know, and you wonder and wonder, right? So that was like the early work. It was a screenshot of the crypto stuff. I can't remember. It was a Bitcoin chart that I kind of redid. So anyways, we can look at that another time. As again, time is of the essence here. So anyways, congrats to Joanne. We'll see how that goes, right? Now, shout out to Luke 500, who shared, remember I was talking about MoMA, for those that watched last show. I was talking about how, you know, is MoMA going to start to feel some angst here with works like we just saw here, and other works like by Hasdrubal Waffle, who we're also going to talk a little bit about here shortly. Are they going to start feeling some angst about, missing out? And like, as we see more and more sophistication here on the blockchain, arguably, are they going to start to get more concerned? Now, so Luke 500, and I mentioned there was a video that I wish I had watched. So anyways, Luke 500 is the person who sent it to me originally, and he actually resent it awesomely. So I actually listened to it, and he also sent me this Feral file. This is basically the institutional NFT platform of sorts. And so you see Buffalo Art Museum here. This is just their homepage, which I think takes you to exhibitions, Boomtown. So there is some stuff, as you can see. There is some art here, works with curators, artists, and institutions to explore new ways of exhibiting and collecting digital art. It is a gated platform, okay, for the most part. So anyways, here, so you can check that out, Feral file. My mic is acting up a little bit, so I'm not going to start going too deep into these websites because it might kill it. But I did want to bring this up. How to join Feral File. I'm an artist. Can I sell my work on Feral File? Probably a lot of you might want to know, especially if there's institutions. Maybe it's an opportunity, right? Feral File artists are selected for each exhibition by that show's curator, so gated. We don't currently have a way for artists to upload work directly to Feral File or to be considered for selection by curators. However, if you're an artist interested in joining our community, we welcome you to join the Feral File Discord. So it sounds pretty gated. I thought if it was an artist interested in uploading your work, well, you can join the Discord, but it's just to join the community. So it's an interesting thing because we were discussing many episodes ago the strange advantage, or maybe the commonsensical advantage, of having an open platform like Object, right? Or, Tea, Hen, whatever you want to call it, because there are so many artists that showed up on there that maybe didn't want to go through any kind of application process. A lot of artists by nature are sort of like, screw it, I don't need anybody's approval. That's why I became an artist, and now I'm not going out here to try and get the approval of someone else. So that is like part of the advantage of these open platforms, is you actually get much more talent coming in the door that otherwise would not show up. So, and Super Rare wisely, I think, onboarded a whole bunch of Tezos artists in the last few months, and I think that was really smart. Now they're doing it with AI artists as well. So, yeah, so I'd never even heard of this, considering how neck deep I am in all this. I put out practically a daily show here, and I'd never even heard of this. Okay, but shout out to Luke 500 for sending the word. So just a heads up, because just kind of interesting here. And also, so of course, they're on Ethereum and Tezos, what they sell, and you can buy there. And there is a wallet, actually, and they use their own wallet here, Autonomy, but you can also sign in, I think, with MetaMask. And if you go on OpenSea, you can do a search for Feral File, and you'll find all sorts of different works. So I think this is some like generative art and stuff, and pretty nice floor here. If you look at the activity, let's just quickly look at the activity. You can get some cheap works from institutional, quote unquote, institutional hands, or however you want to put that. So just kind of an interesting, again, and not terrible sales here. 1/8, 4 days ago, and then no sales for 26 days. But then that sold for 13 ETH. Shall we quickly look at what sold for 13 ETH? Norcal Guy is the artist. Oh, look, Dmitry Cherniak. There you go. So interestingly, maybe there's a way to get some cheap Dmitry Cherniaks. Like this Paper Hand Capital probably minted this it was an airdrop, and how, so I don't know what the mechanics are, but just kind of interesting what's going on there. So continuing on, tomorrow, this is fun. RuneTune was suggesting maybe we get a guest once in a while, and I thought that was a great idea. So Rare Force One, Rare, the great Boston Dynamics dog painter and really interesting digital painter, is going to join us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be 3 of us there. We're going to ask, and I think it's sort of an opportunity to go a little bit deeper with artists, because I bring people on, and I want to continue to do these kind of open lines shows, because I think it's great for just maybe someone only has 5 or 10 minutes and they don't want to spend an hour, and maybe they're unknown and that's their opportunity. So I like this kind of open platform, but it's also, when you bring someone on, it's a chance to kind of have a bit of a deeper conversation about the work and what's going on and what they're thinking about. So that also has its own advantages. So I think it's just a nice, a continued iteration of the Spaces project. So anyways, that is happening tomorrow. We just posted this and got a couple of, already gained a response, which is totally awesome. So thanks, guys. So tune in tomorrow. It's Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A couple of comments I wanted to, that I missed last time, but just on AI and this whole idea that it's quote unquote open season, just on influence and, for lack of a better term, copying or being heavily influenced, let's call it this way, by other people's work in the AI scene. Remember, Charles AI was taking issue with saying, okay, there's another artist out there that's really borrowing from me and having a lot of success. And again, this argument we've been looking at, which is like, well, can we be mad at the ArtStation people for saying they're being sampled and then be an AI artist and then say, hey, I'm being sampled, when it's kind of sampler culture? But it's, it's not a black or white issue. It's a gray issue. Now, Mars Eve NFT art weighed in with some very interesting comments. Open season. In the past, style was sacred. But now style can be replicated, no matter how complicated, through AI Dream Booth or image-to-image image prompting. So what are the new metrics? Maybe storytelling, iconography, or a move to a non-2D media, which is hard to replicate, animation, 3D, VR, video. I also like the popularity of vintage graphics creation. AI is not yet optimized to replicate pixel art or vector art. Great point. And I think this is the profound point, which is probably why Mars Eve NFT started with this. It may show a real shift, potentially, of this idea of style. Like, I've always, like, in my own work, I have several styles. I have like 4 or 5, maybe more, different series which are totally unrelated, stylistically. Although some people say, actually, I can tell they all kind of look like your work in some respects. But this is kind of a really interesting issue. And we were discussing Richard Prince as well, saying, and there's a video on YouTube, Vice put it out, really interesting video, where he's saying the art world wants to put artists in a box, that this is your style, this is what you do, kind of a one-liner, and it's good marketing. If you have one series, everybody knows, okay, you're the guy that does X, Y, Z. But someone like Richard Prince, he fights that. He's like, I'll work on one thing in the morning, then in the afternoon, I'll work on a different series. And I work the same way, and I like it that way. Because some artists, I mean, you hear of artists here in Berlin, they get trapped in their style, and the gallery doesn't want to see a different style. They want what's selling, right? So it can become a trap. So I kind of prefer early on that I just have my different series and that's already going. So should a gallery come by, it's sort of like, well, I already have my 5, works, that or 5 series that are in the pipeline. So anyways, so that's kind of my angle on style. So I think this is really interesting though, because this is a real sacred cow, you could argue, in art. And I kind of love this idea of demoting style as this sacred cow, right? Let's just see. And he had Mars had another comment. I like the idea of prompts as titles and fake prompts as titles. Me too, right? So some really sophisticated ideas here. Fake prompts as titles. People will try the prompt and fail, lol. So yeah, so that is also, because we were talking about how with AI works, in my kind of heart of hearts, I would love the prompt to be the title. And then it would be like even more fascinating. And then it would be like no holds barred as far as copying, because then I could just take that prompt and run away with it. So is this kind of like the logical conclusion of this kind of hardcore sampler culture in AI? Does the prompt or fake prompts become the title? Now, just one last thing, prompt engineers. I was listening to a podcast on AI art, and it was by an old kind of AI engineer who became an artist, and he was saying this notion of the prompt engineer and how people are talking about, crafting your words perfectly and getting, all the parameters right and everything. So I thought that was a fascinating idea. So anyways, really interesting thoughts from Mars Eve NFT. Quick correction from Rustic. Little disclaimer, it's a self-portrait, not our friend Mark Zuckerberg. Lol. Just me and my crop buddy. Thanks for the space, Adrian. So Rustic is talking about this. So I thought this was Mark Zuckerberg yesterday, but it's actually a portrait of the artist, Rustic Digital Art, hanging out with the cropped Mario. So thanks for chiming in and the correction there, Rustic Digital Art. Now this whole Hasdrubal Waffles situation, I think, is getting kind of mysterious here. So we were featuring this Waffles Draw tool that was made by, now was strangely enough, it was made by Santiago. Now, why is Santiago making the Waffles Draw? Maybe they know each other or something. And so first, let's take a look at this. Please, Adrian, next episode, invite anyone who wants to pick the code and enhance it. I made it on ChatGTP and it went quite well. So this whole website we were looking at yesterday was actually coded by ChatGPT, the new AI software online that you've all heard about. So how crazy is that? So not only are we dealing with these visual AI tools, but even the ChatGPT, you can get it to code art tools, which is pretty exciting. So Santiago made this Hasdrubal Waffles site, Waffle Draws, and he's basically saying, anybody that wants to add to the code, let me know, message Santiago. So there's a little bit of mystery here with who Hasdrubal Waffles is. Ollie Isakowski. Some say he is a secret artist. Some say Waffles is not real. All I know is Waffles is here to stay, still life of the great Waffles. I mean, it's a pretty strange name, and you wonder, is this just like a secret identity of someone like Santiago or someone else? I don't know. So, but this definitely perked up my ears or my eyes, and it made me question, especially the first intimations that something might be weird was that Santiago programmed the Waffle Draws. Why would that be? So there does seem to be a bit of a mystery around this incredible artist. Okay, so interesting. And there's more secrecy. Retired artists formerly known as NZFS. We even have secret NFTs minted secretly and hidden at plain sight with Waffles Draw and the secret GNU image manip tool. So, maybe I'm not in on the joke here. It almost doesn't matter to a certain degree. I see the work, and the work is astonishing. And I tell you, if that's someone's joke account and that's the work they're making, isn't that interesting? Let me close that. Continuing on. And Santiago making explanation. I guess at some point we should do a more explanatory tweet and more clear date. So, and they're just talking more about the software here. So there is a mystery here, my friends. There is a mystery. Time to Waffles Draw by Santiago. Continuing on. So take the takeaway here. There seems to be a mystery around this identity. Hasdrubal Waffle, aka Authentic Waffles, and then you go to the NFTs and it's drawn by Tala. All sorts of strangeness there. So any clarification is appreciated over here. This was a great comment from yesterday's video. Stoked that you mentioned that you referenced research publications here. And that was Little Cakes and Son of Stagways, and me too. I was a body piercer for years. This is my treasure. So how cool is that? I told you, research is famous. Within the kind of counterculture, it is like an institution. And Vale, if you're ever in San Francisco, you can go to researchpubs.com, email Vale, and he's pretty responsive. And, he was an outsider like the rest of us, so he's just happy when people know what he was doing. And he's pretty social. So anyways, I've met Vale. I actually helped him on his new logo. His new logo. Yeah, we made, that was 15 years ago, maybe 2007, 15 years ago when I visited San Francisco to visit Vale. Because I had written my master's thesis on J.G. Ballard's Atrocity exhibition. And so I hung out with Vale for a week. It was great. Very cool. I met Jello Biafra. I was there at his 50th birthday party, all 6 of us. So that was pretty wide-eyed at that situation. So that was pretty awesome. Continuing on. Acid Boy, just on some market dynamics here. I want to make things easier for my collectors and friends in the community. I've decided to build an allow list for my upcoming mints. This idea came from my friend OXDGB, link below. So if you want to get on the Acid Boy allow list, you can go here. So interesting, trying to reward, I guess, the loyal collectors. As this scene grows, we could see more of this kind of thing. I could just see more of that. And so this isn't released yet. So there are none sold. Come back today at 5. So Acid Boy is putting out another open edition. Actually, it's not an open edition. It's an edition of 50 on Manifold at 0.2. And we'll see if we can get some volume on this. Pretty cool, actually. Trying to get rid of that white line. There we go. So yeah, each one seems more epic than the last. So Acid Boy goes live this afternoon and continuing on. So interesting market dynamics, and also on this kind of heated scene that I'm seeing here. Tom Bombadil sold out. Thank you very much. I received 55 offers on this NFT here. Wow, that was my first experience with offers, and there was also a problem with communication. Sorry who I missed. So far, I will do the following drops without offers. Thank you all. So this one here, and I think I brought it up here, he did very well. So don't forget, I think it was just yesterday's episode, he sold that one of one for 325 Tezos. Now, I think it was this work here, right? Yes, this work here. If we take a look at the history here, accept offers 16, all the way down to 10. That was the minimum here. So on 25, so probably like another $350. And, Tom Bombadil is very prolific. He's releasing a piece or two a day, and they're being snapped up. So that's a pretty healthy income, actually. This is more than regular jobs. So the promise is out there to live from your art via this scene, at least, temporarily. I mean, these things heat up and cool down. That's the nature of being an artist, boom and bust. So things are booming right now for Tom Bombadil. And another work here, and this sold for 12, 13. I'm not sure if these were offers. This sold on primary for 750, but you see how quickly. Look at this. So listed at 8:21 Berlin time, sold out basically by 2 minutes later. 2 minutes later, sold out, or by 8:23. So once things get going here, and again, we're kind of in a bear market. What happens if the whole world gets interested in digital art again? And even more so, and it's affordable, they're not paying $100 fees on Ethereum, all this sort of thing. This could get wild. Robness V2, said, NFT artists are going to be the new rock stars. When you start seeing, these are kind of like signs of that, we're seeing kind of small signs. I wanted to do a quick look at Rada's work, because Rada, as I described in earlier episodes, is a lot of the reason why many of us ended up on Tezos, including myself and Joe Rogan's dad, because I saw works like this. He had this great kind of ad of sorts where he had this work with classical music behind it, and it was stunning. And I think it would kind of zoom in. It was a stunning ad, and I was just in love with the work. And so as one of the first works I bought on Tezos was the guy, I think it was Cosimo de' Medici, riding the horse. So I thought we could just look. This is owned by Cosimo de' Medici. I don't know if there's any, I think there's only one. So yeah, and sold for almost for free. So pretty nice work here. Yeah, also sold to Cosimo de' Medici. So anyways, just some really nice work. So just because maybe people don't know Rada and the pixel artwork and what we're talking about here. So St. George and the Dragon, but this is Cosimo de' Medici, patron in the crypto art scene. Golden Glory. So this is like a pirate ship. And Rada uses a lot of rats and pirates. Kind of combines the two sometimes, as we see right here. Really nice kind of pixel art. The 'Tis Victory or Death. This is another one, Extraction of Quintessence. Kind of has a bit of a medieval feel to it, doesn't it? And a couple more here, Alchemy Lessons. And this is super cool. I love the signs in the air here. Almost like a medieval painting. Very cool. And finally, Monty and Jules. Almost looks like his dog, but with a bit of a pastoral Renaissance kind of feel to it. And finally, what is this called? It looks like a still life with some rats in it. And so anyways, Nature Morte. So a still life. And by Rada Yonke. So anyways, I just wanted to fill you in. For those that don't know Rada's work, that is kind of like what brought a lot of people over, which got me excited about art on the blockchain, frankly, interestingly. So that pixel art, right? It has a very populist feel. We see it with Tom Bombadil. Right? I mean, look at that. Once you kind of get that pixel art vibe, people love that stuff. I love that stuff, So anyways, it's just beautiful too. Rustic Digital Art, White Ferrari, edition of 12. This, again, another artist selling out like, look at this. 4 Tezos and sold out within basically 25 minutes sold out. And how many edition of 12? So there you go, 4 times, 48 Tezos in 15 minutes for this new work here as part of the cloud period. So again, playing with the crop Mario and doing all these outrageous things here, like now putting it in a cube and then painting over it. Again, like I keep saying, it's very difficult to be this irrational. So very interesting title. White Ferrari, so more interesting work from Rustic Digital Art. Continuing, Dan Control, Wall of Lighters, Strongly Protects. So kind of pairing with his Vapo cigarettes. I think it's a Vapo cigarette. He has some lighters here. So I guess you couldn't use this lighter with the Vapo cigarette. But anyways, continuing with the theme and of kind of taking one of the images and repeating it, looks great to me. I like the background too, just a solid light color. Buy for 4, still available. This is another work by Dan Control that I had missed. I ironed 7 shirts, and I never saw this one. Ready to use, I sweated them. I have now ironed them. Now I can sweat it. So just kind of interesting. The businessman or the business person and their iron and their shirts. So again, kind of a pop vibe, a pop art vibe to the whole thing. The landscape is pretty interesting. And the cloud as well. Look at the clouds, these just big gradient clouds. Anyways, very interesting. Human Kernel with another anti-PFP. It isn't possible to find me, but I'm here secretly. What did this go for? Very nice work, by the way. For 31. And again, kind of like, I don't know what the tool is, but what I'm calling the Liquify tool. Making these really nice textures here, and then they contrast them with this kind of digital output over here. A very simple thing, and again, the profile picture as template for experimentation. So another interesting work here by Human Kernel. And of course, Lorna Mills, On Demand. I quite liked this work in particular. I like the simplicity of it. It takes her classic style of putting the pixelation around and just the gray. I like the gray. She uses a lot of bright colors sometimes. And just a very simple hand gesture. Interesting crop here. So anyways, On Demand, buy for 15, edition of 30. Very cool. Sabato with a new work, and this is called Sighting, which is interesting. I think he put out a tweet saying it's like the perspective from below. Point of view, see, point of view. You are beach BB waking up underneath the canopy of a golden palm tree. You open your eyes gazing towards the heavens. So you are asleep, and then basically it looks like you're seeing a UFO is landing and the clouds are here. So a pretty original idea and composition, daring experimentation over here with this palm tree, isn't it? Very daring. Sighting. So I guess the sighting is the UFO, and the UFO is beautifully rendered here. Sabato's drawing exercises are just looking like, very nice digital paintings, pixel art paintings. Continuing on, Sky Goodman, who also, and they know each other a little bit. They're almost, I don't know if they're out of the same scene, but anyways, kind of glitch Artist Sky Goodman with some interesting kind of, again, experimental work, Phantom number 1. So again, playing with this pixel art that is kind of blurred out or just kind of not doing what it's supposed to do. What's traditionally done. So again, almost an alien or a phantom of sorts. Hard to say, but sort of where representational meets abstract in a pixel, and also using AI. I never noticed that. Interesting. So Phantom number 1 by Sky Goodman. Ed Marola with some work, and again, kind of like this lo-fi pixels here with a kind of, this almost looks like Greece or something, or maybe Mexico. And again, look at these plants here, half blurred out. Pixel work in another language, maybe that's Spanish or Portuguese, I'm not sure, Casebre. So maybe that's Mexico. And let's just see what happened here. Edition of 2, one sold for 50 to Dernadler, a big collector here, and Ed Marola is holding on to 1. So interesting, continuing on, Demon Rider, another one. So Ed Marola is very prolific here and really riding this kind of lo-fi pixels here, for lack of a better term. Okay. But where they all kind of, there's just a bit of a blurry feeling, even though if you look up close, I mean, there's a bit of anti-aliasing is basically what seems to be going on here. So playing with the aliasing a little bit, seemingly. And what was this called again? Demon Rider. So strange work, interesting colors, and the demon seems to be on fire. So very interesting. Let's just quickly look at the market on that and see what happened here. Sold for 4, nice low price here at midnight, 12:21 Berlin time, sold out in 12 minutes, and that was a edition of 33. So again, like, I mean, if you're making basically $125 a day US in salary, I mean, that starts to become a salary of sorts, or in income. Now, the key in art, though, is it never, well, sometimes it does last and sometimes it becomes more. So, but you have to be careful with that. But anyways, to me, that's a real kind of significant level when you can start to bring in $125 a day consistently. Then things start to get pretty interesting from a financial viewpoint. The whole dream, as Rune Toon says, of living off your art. Plants. Now, we saw at maybe the Hen reunion, I think we saw plants. And so plants does plants. And here is some pixel art plants. Very experimental, very unusual. And this frame here that kind of has a spider web sort of feel and a Tezos logo in the middle. Ordinary Thousand Leaf Fjord Woundwort Ghost. Buy for 3. Still 6 left. And here's another one, also by plants. Udriggery Sugar Plum, buy for 0. So this is basically free. 55 are left. Well, I might have to pick one of those up. I like the price, and interesting kind of tiny pixels here. Interesting move here as well with this cross in the background, which kind of grounds the whole composition. Interesting contrast between the black and white pixels here and that are static and the moving colorful pixels too. And continuing on, a work by Gift Studies, Fellow Molecule. Can you imagine we are made of such crystals? So basically just a molecule, a very small pixel art molecule, pixel art work of a molecule going around in circles. So just kind of interesting, isn't it? I often like the scientific stuff as well. Can you imagine we are made of such crystals? 400 by 276 pixels, so tiny, and went for only a Tezos on primary. Now you have to pay 13, edition of 10 on secondary. So part of Gift Studies work, I just want to see if we've seen their work before. So I feel like, yeah, we looked at Voronoi. Interesting. I don't know what that means. That sounds like Greek. We looked at Voronoi yesterday, so more work from Gift Studies. Ellie Lowe. So let me get the mic set up here. So, pretty wild work as usual, from LA Low, one of my favorite trash artists, that's for sure. I never know what's going on, but it always seems very impressive. I mean, look at this. And this looks like a portable kind of kerosene gas tank or something. Trash Fire Day Ringage, buy for 4 Tezos on secondary. Board Me Social Club continues the pixel art portraits or the PFP project. So he's got a few now. There's still one on primary here. Oh, actually, that's not a pixel artwork. 35, 55. I mean, what are these selling for? Does he sell them? Have they sold yet? Yeah, 8. So he's taking 8 Tezos generally. So pretty reasonable for a 1 of 1 by Board Me Social Club. Bite by Bit. I think Islay picked this up. Space Runner Nebula's Exploration, 1990 Twin Portal. So again, this is kind of like the more, I mean, we know Bite by Bit from all the planets and the constellations and the nebulas. This series, the Space Runner series, seems to be more of a sci-fi series because it has the cube. And then you get these, it seems to be Bite by Bit experimenting, even these crazy lines and the rainbow. So interesting 1 of 1 here. By Bit. I think we have others. And this still uses PC Paint. Pixeland Deluxe I will, so just more experimentation, okay? And then there was a new software here. 1991 KidPix 1.0 DOS mode. So this is almost Bite by Bit's signature kind of move, which is using a lot of these vintage software or retro tools, as I like to call them. So interesting here, just more not afraid to experiment and just do what the software wants you to do, also using KidPix 1.0. So playing around here, just kind of interesting abstracts, right? And this was found by Sabato. He posted some works that he was looking at and liking. And so let's see if we can get this going. I'm not sure if there's volume on it. There isn't. So just a couch. But kind of a pretty cool, I guess you'd call this a glitch work of a couch. A future couch by Tezos, who I had never seen before. And maybe I brought up actually already Tezos' work. I think I did, right? So a lot of these kind of retro TVs here and all sorts of kind of glitch work, right? So anyways, I like the couch. There's something about it. Future couch. I guess people did too. Let's just look at what it went for on the market here very quickly. Because now it's on secondary for 35. Let's just take a quick look. Accepted offers for 5, and that was it. Okay, so for 5 Tezos, went 1 to Sabato there. And continuing on, Glitch David, who we also looked at, I believe, yesterday, VHS Glitch number 14. Nice kind of museum title. And so here you are, just an interesting, another glitch artist using Panasonic. So using, analog hardware, I believe, Panasonic WJ, Shart SlimCam, VCR player, CRT, so very analog, similar to LB there. Buy for 1 Tezos, edition of 10, and there are 8 left, so largely unknown. I think we looked at them, Glitch David, yesterday. Yeah, this Corrupt ROM number 6. So that is gone now. Continuing on, Dr. Version, another sort of glitch video artist, Digital Latex. So continuing in that kind of cube series by Dr. Version. Edition of 5, is this sold out? Or maybe, yes, it is sold out, went for 3. And this is interesting. Daniel W. Doing a Last Supper. However, it's on Manifold XYZ, but not as an open edition. This was similar to Sabato doing the bid, I guess you'd call it. It's like a gallery, see gallery.manifold.xyz. Redux Collection Final Piece, The Last Supper. So starting at 1 ETH, the final piece of the Redux Collection, the recreation of The Last Supper by Leonardo. And I think I saw a tweet by Daniel W. saying that this was his first work on Ethereum. So anyways, pretty awesome. as usual. A couple of works by ATV, also in this kind of Renaissance art. So here's David, LSD Dosis, 18, buy for a Tezos 50, and here's the Mona Lisa, buy for 2 Tezos. Kind of glitched out. And Hagluk, with an edition of 55, buy for $4.99, and that's all on secondary. So, and Hagluk is having a lot of success here with these architectural structures that are flashing. He also got help from Uxine, who picked up a work. So just kind of interesting. Kids Placed 7780. You see how quickly this market can move. A work from an artist who I think we've seen before, Flostitanerum, and this is called Eternity. Kind of and this is on Super Rare. Kind of a mystical looking drawing here. Kind of has an Eastern feel to it. So sci-fi, you see almost the lotus flower here, but a sci-fi person here, and then galaxies and space rather than, the Indian pantheon of gods. So, you'd almost expect this to be like a Ganesh type, figure here. So very interesting work. Already has an offer for an ETH. So pretty impressive. This is another kind of interesting work by Turkarak, edition of 20. Stash in the closet. So the naked couple, the man is being hidden in the closet. Likely the husband or boyfriend is coming home here. So kind of classic Turkarak here. Continuing on, Head on Stick, who I'd never seen before, I don't think. Death is a Curse, buy for 1 Tezos. So just an odd drawing. I think I found this in someone's collection. Just an interesting, odd drawing. Shall we bring up their page very quickly here? Yeah, so just interesting illustrator, right? Look at that. So very, very interesting. A couple of pages of work. I thought that last one was particularly nice. Badala, You're the Black Rabbit. Again, this kind of has a contemporary art feel. I'm trying to think of the artist that this reminds me of. But anyways, a new one. And this artist is called Badala, okay? Rabbit Girl and Friends. So I think we've seen another from this series. This is a new one of this girl and a rabbit. Continuing on, Flora Marquez. Now, Tradscape actually said, hey, he sent me a message at one point. You should show some more Flora Marquez. And I think I showed a couple here. I'm a big fan, and we know her from the stamps, okay? She's kind of a well-known artist, I'd say, on Tezos. Kind of one of these artists that you come across early on when you're exploring the Tezos blockchain. She put out a bunch of one-of-ones just in the last couple of weeks here, since January 1st, moving on from the stamps, at least temporarily. So again, this is the last stamp. I never even saw this one. And these kind of from a fake Republic, I assume, or Ondenga Republic. And yeah, editions of 10. I missed this one. This came out in December 19th. So a cool work. I'm a huge fan of these stamps, as Tradscape is as well. Ophelia's House. Here are a few of the one-of-ones. I picked this one up. They're cheap. They're 10 Tezos for a one-of-one. And so, again, for a pretty well-known artist like this, what I particularly liked technically was these almost look like erase marks. You see that? Like how I don't know what they are, but you see the marks underneath. And that really just gives the whole work, it takes it beyond an illustration to kind of a sophisticated, work of art when you start leaving in these marks here. So I thought that was really nicely done. There's No Monday That We Can't Battle, 16th of January. Nice work. I have a few more here. And again, you see that kind of, those marks that are left. That little subtlety can make the whole difference. 15th of January, 2023. So kind of a journal of sorts. 11th of January, Let's Take the Long Road, Enjoying the Landscape. So kind of in her style of the stamps, but almost looking like a sketchbook of sorts with these interesting gray marks, which just add so much. It just makes, sometimes it's all it needs. Kind of reminds me of that Robert Rauschenberg work where he erased de Kooning, which we can bring up here. Erased de Kooning, where de Kooning, I'm probably pronouncing de Kooning wrong, where Rauschenberg, if I know the story right, went to de Kooning's studio and got a drawing from him and asked him if he could erase it and present it. So it's kind of a concept artwork. So here it is. A Race to Kooning by Robert Rauschenberg, kind of a famous kind of conceptual art piece, but also kind of interesting, especially with, Robert Rauschenberg, who used a lot of chants, being really influenced by John Cage, who was a contemporary. Continuing on, artist we haven't looked at before, Ava, who's just an abstract artist and some geometric abstraction. This is a recent one from last week called Bridges. And so here you can just see some abstraction. Kind of looks like an interior, but also an exterior at the same time. We became a big family of 4,000 people. Thank you, everyone. So maybe she has quite a few followers here. And digital artist and architect. So here you can see kind of a minimalist work. Love this Christmas work here. So another one, again, which looks kind of like a kitchen here. This almost has a feeling of a dishwasher and an oven, but who knows? It's geometric abstraction, interdimensional, part of the 2022 Essential Collection, also out last week. And how much did this go for? Edition of 1 went for 100. So a pretty nice market for Ava. Very nice. And finally, before we run through the AI here, Walk, Rage Against the Machine. I guess that's an album cover, probably part of that whole series. This is a digital work at auction for only 15 Tezos right now. So very cool digital art from Walk. And I'm not going to go through this thread, but I'm giving you the heads up. This is I'm not really big into these thread, but sometimes they get me, these Twitter threads. And Barcy, whose Twitter handle is Hey Barcy, takes you through a whole bunch of hacks on Midjourney. Here's a mega thread with resources to know everything about Midjourney in 5 minutes. We could spend the whole episode actually untangling this. There are some great hacks in here. Say, how to use commas, like the difference between using the commas and not, how to get higher quality, and the artist lists that you can reference to get artists in the style. There is a ton of hacks in here. Using no, if you don't want lettuce, you use the no. So this is a really, really good thread for kind of learn, how to increase the quality. The default is Q1. If you put this, it goes to Q5. There are a lot of great hacks in here. Style, S1. So I've kind of run through it, and you can even sell prompts. So anyways, very interesting thread there, FYI. Glitchtown Arcade is partnering up with D His Science on AI and also GlitchROM, seemingly, in the AI computer. So buy for 30, edition of 10. So very cool combination of GlitchROM and AI, which I don't know if I've ever seen before. Interesting title for the collection Techno Trance, which some of us grew up with back in the day. Just Thuja, remember her, who did the frog work? So she is releasing a whole bunch, and her collection is called Into the Garden, and it uses, this is what I want to highlight here, photography, film, hand drawings, paintings, printmaking to make flowers, clay, and botanicals, to create dyes and paints that are of the earth themselves. These colors, as close as how I see is as close to how I see our garden as I possibly could get. So pretty interesting. We were commenting on this, I think, yesterday about everything that's being put into this. Finally, some AI works, which I'm going to run through here. Poly Jojo with what looks like almost a Fra Angelico or Giotto inspired, altarpiece, but with Star Wars figures. I thought quite successfully done. And these are Jedis, apparently. The Dark Father and Disciples. AI and Photoshop from Poly Jojo. Edition of 1. Let's just see quickly what that went for. That went for $666, so a pretty reasonable price. And Rey de las Hamburguesas. So this looks like kind of a Ronald McDonald King Burger King. It's the Burger King. So by Poly Jojo, edition of 5, available for 2 Tezos. And he had another one. Now this is probably the Ronald McDonald, and there's the McDonald sign. Lord Raginvalder of Clan MacDonald in Scotland, 1685, AI and Photoshop. So more AI work. Zoom starts a seemingly new series here. We'll check. Charlotte, a new AI portrait series under her AI guys, Zoom. I guess she has 2 in this series, and there's another one here, Amelia. So very interesting. I wonder if that's Amelia Earhart. Who knows? But interesting portraits there. Editions of 10. Marina Amadova with a twins work, Infinity of Cognition, edition of 10. And see how she's doing here. And these are going for pretty reasonable prices here at 7 and 20 on for the later editions here, edition of 10. And finally, some works by Mr. Shapeless, and this was quite interesting too. So he puts out this work, as he does a lot on Twitter. He says, still available to mint, this work on foundation. And remember we were looking at Acid Boy, and it was someone else that was doing almost like PFP style? Well, Mr. Shapeless is doing that. 0.08 ETH is sold at 150. So, I mean, that is not nothing, right? That's probably 12 ETH, which is what, $16,000? So Mr. Shapeless continues to rake it in using this PFP trope to sell, I guess what you'd call it generative art. I think it's generative. I'm not sure exactly how it works. There's a thread about the series in Mr. Shapeless's Twitter feed. And just a few more works with these fantastic clouds here. These fantastic landscapes, which I show almost every day here. And these great stars. Yeah, just great work from Mr. Shapeless. And that, my friends, is your show. Thank you for joining me once again. And hopefully I see you on Twitter Spaces tomorrow, where we do it all again with Rare, which should be super interesting. So thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.